What's up, everybody? Trying to get it right here. Welcome back to the Emperor Atheist channel with your host, Emperor Atheist. Boom, man. I'm going to try to make this subject kind of short, you know what I mean? But it's kind of going to be hard. But, I don't like to really make long videos. I don't want to bore nobody, or make it seem too lecture-like. So, but the title of this video, basically destroying the moral argument for God's existence. Now, I'm gonna get into this deals with a lot of philosophy and a lot of bullshit, rhetorical. I'm just gonna give it to you, a very basic point of view. I don't know how many of you studied philosophy or studied rhetorical and circular arguments or rhetoric, but this is basically what people like William Lane Craig. They use this argument. Well, Christian apologists, period, use this particular argument. The moral argument. You have different other arguments, and I'm going to make videos on these different arguments. Matter of fact, I'll probably do different parts on this particular video as far as destroying this bullshit moral argument for the existence of God. But, you have the ontological argument, you have the tag argument, theological argument for the existence of God. You got all type of arguments that basically is philosophical in nature and is, I'm just going to be honest with you, it's bullshit, garbage. It's basically, it's circular. It's like saying the Bible is true because the Bible says it's true. I mean, it's simple as that. Or X-Man, or, X-Man is real because we saw it on TV. That's basically what you're getting at. But I'm going to go into the basis of the argument. For those who are not familiar with the moral argument, surely you can go online or YouTube, and you can listen to Christian apologists explain the moral argument of how they feel like the moral argument proves the existence of God. But I'm just going to get into the basis of it. Then I'm going to give my objections to it to show how, for those who may debate or have a dialogue with these people, even those who have learned their philosophy, people like William Lane Craig. William Lane Craig, he's like one of the leading Christian apologists, but he's like sickening to me to listen to. Just for the life of me, man. It's just fucking hard for me to listen to a whole debate with William Lane Craig, man. They say the guy has a high IQ. It's just hard to believe. Like I said, I think he's a charlatan, but I don't know. But he's just like one of the leading Christian apologists of this particular day and time that basically always uses the moral argument for the existence of God. That's just his thing. And like I said, y'all go look up this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put some links. I'll put some links where I put a link of William Lane Craig where he's actually using this rhetorical argument, and y'all go listen to this clown yourself. But basically, and other clowns who try to use this to prove the existence of their sky daddy. But anyway, for the most part, dealing with the moral argument. And what is the moral argument? And basically, the moral argument, I'm just break it down in it's just three basic steps or rules that they use. And basically, it's if God doesn't exist, number one, their first premise is if God doesn't exist, then objective moral values do not exist. Premise two, since objective moral values exist, then bring us to premise three, which means therefore God must exist. So in other words, God and objective morality is ontologically tied together, and I'm going to explain this because they believe in this thing. They teach this thing, which is philosophy, a bunch of bullshit. What is called, apologists call the modified command theory, okay? And within this modified command theory, which speaks of goodness, which is basically a philosophical primitive, and I'll try to explain that. But like I said, I want to make this short, but it's simple. It's like first grader could do this and actually defeat these apologists in a debate. But the thing about it is just seeing the curveballs that they throw. Never evidence. Like I said in my previous video, arguments in and of itself are not evidence, nowhere near evidence. Arguments are only hypotheses. But some of these charlatans and people who do this stuff try to still convince people that this bullshit is real, they are very learned in philosophy, and they know they know rhetoric, and they know how to argue and use a philosophy. So they throw a lot of philosophical curveballs, and if you're not aware of it, then you're just going around and around and around. And sometimes these arguments may seem to be circular, but then they'll turn into semantics. So you just have to avoid these bullshit traps, and just like I say, just see them when they come at you. But anyway, like I said, this is the basic premise for the moral argument. Just these three little steps. The first one being, if God does not exist, then objective moral values don't exist. So they say, well, since objective moral values exist, therefore God must exist. Well, the first objection to this bullshit is that, what does God have to do with morality? That's the first question you must ask. And no apologist, William Lane Craig or no one else, has ever tied God to morality. They can't. And if they do, you see, you have to force them to show the relationship between this particular invisible God and morality. But if they ever do, and if they ever do tie the relationship in with God and morality, then it weakens their case in actuality. It actually weakens and waters down the case. People like William Lane Craig know this, but they continue to weave this particular web. So, like I said, back to the modified command theory, they say that God, and it's before I get to the modified command theory, which is still a part of what we call ontological equivalence, and what I mean by ontological equivalence, they say that God is ontologically tied or connected with everything that's good or everything that's moral, just like water is tied to H2O. Okay, I want to slow down right here. This is like some of the biggest babble bullshit that could ever come out these false philosophers' mouth. Now, we know for a fact that water, through science, through years of the last 100, 200 years, we know that water is H2O. Okay, hydrogen, 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. We understand that. And what we also understand is that there have been generations, hundreds of generations of people who have actually died without even understanding H2O and what water was. But does that mean that they didn't understand what water actually was? They drank water, they used it to bathe, to live. That doesn't mean just because they didn't know H2O or what water was down to the last molecules or atoms or whatever, doesn't mean that they didn't understand what water was. So this is what the apologists try to say. They try to say that God is ontologically tied to goodness, just like water is tied to H2O. First of all, that's a faulty premise, because in defining good, we don't know what good is. What is your definition of good? Secondly, you have not tied a relationship into what God is compared to morality. That's very faulty. We have no idea. And another thing, water and H2O can be shown to be, we know that H2O comes from water or makes up water, but we have no evidence of any God to tie to any morality or goodness. So for apologists to make that comparison, mainly William Lane Craig, to make the comparison of ontological equivalence between water and H2O and God and morality or goodness is very faulty. And as you can see, you should just throw that shit out the trash, because we know that water is made of H2O, but we don't know anything about any God. We have no evidence for any God. Therefore, we don't know anything about him being ontologically equivalent with goodness or morality. Secondly, when you look at the basic, just what I told you, you look at the basic foundation of the moral argument, then atheists can use it too. Agnostics can use it. Anybody can use it. If the moral argument says that God does not exist, if God does not exist, ask the question. It starts off asking the question. If God does not exist, then therefore objective morality does not exist. So since we know premise 2, objective morality exists, therefore God exists, then the atheist or agnostic can say, well, if 1 + 1 does not equal 2, then fire-breathing dragons does not exist. But since 1 + 1 = 2, fire-breathing dragons exist. Therefore, fire-breathing dragons exist. It's the same thing I can say. So the basic point of the argument, the founded argument of morality being objective morality being the evidence for God is the same thing I just said about 1 plus 1 equaling 2. Since 1 plus 1 equals 2, then fire-breathing dragons must exist. It's because we know 1 plus 1 equals 2. But the thing about it is, the argument is so ridiculous. It should be thrown in the trash. And my other videos, I'm going to speak on Amsel's ontological argument, some more bullshit. Pascal's wager, some more bullshit apologists use. So many type of philosophical things that apologists use that have been debunked time and time again. But you'll look on YouTube, you'll see these particular debates, and you'll continue to see the moral argument for God, the ontological argument for God, the theological argument for God. And all of these things, man, I mean, it doesn't take a scholar or anyone it doesn't take a PhD or somebody with a bachelor, or it doesn't even really take a person with a high school diploma to actually see the common sense and reason why these arguments is not evidence for some all-knowing being, all-powerful being. It's just not, it's not plausible. It's not plausible at all. But the thing about it, and another thing, like I said, I could speak on this particular subject of the moral argument and debunk it. I can make this video like 5 hours long because it's a lot of stuff that goes into this argument. Basically, when thinking about the moral argument, I mean, you can always say that this was basically a borrowed argument from moral Platonism. I mean, if you ever just go look up moral Platonism, Plato, Greek philosopher Plato had the same ideas and things, but the thing about moral Platonism, he didn't believe in the same God that they believe in. He didn't believe in this Jesus or this God of the Hebrews, this Jehovah God. He believed in the Greek deities. So this could be the same thing. It's something that's borrowed from another ancient time with a whole different pantheon of gods. So what makes your Jehovah this particular God that your so-called objective morality proves? See, this is why this is garbage and should be thrown in the trash. And the argument shouldn't be taken serious. It shouldn't be even debated on in debates. I don't think atheist debaters or historians should even waste their time debating these subjects like this. It's like a waste of time. But the thing about it is this. When running into these apologists and listen to their arguments, and like I say, understanding and looking for the traps, because that's the main thing. You want to look for the traps because that's all they can do. They run, and William Lane Craig is very good at that. I mean, especially with Bart Ehrman, a lot of people, Christopher Hitchens, put him in a corner. He tries to mold the debate in his way so he can try to back him in a corner. He stays away from anything as far as the Bible, as textual things or mistakes in the Bible or the errancy of the Bible. He stays away from things like that because he knows he doesn't have a leg to stand on. So he tries to get into philosophical, rhetorical arguments like bullshit like this, moral arguments for God, and get off into, philosophical principles and all type of things like this. But the thing about it, when you're dealing with the moral argument for God, there's a lot of things when we're dealing with what is called meta-ethical theories. There's a lot of these, majority of meta-ethical theories actually sides with atheism. I mean, when you're dealing with things like the ideal observer, or you're dealing with John Rawls' social contract theory, or even certain ideas of consequentialism. I mean, if you just go and study these things, or Ralston's reductive naturalism, all these things basically adhere or connect with atheism more so than it does with theism. So the arguments are basically weak, and when you actually get off into philosophy, understand philosophy, these things can be balanced either way. And a lot of times, like I say, when you don't just get off into the semantics of a thing, then you're basically just going around in circles. It's circular arguments, it's rhetorical arguments. So basically, I was just going to make this video. I guarantee you, this is just going to be a part one because, like I said, the moral argument for God and the way that these Christian apologists tries to defend it can be like just, it can just be destroyed and picked and plundered all through. And there's a lot of other scholars who've like destroyed it and debunked it. But you know, a lot of people don't understand these arguments, and when they listen to these debates, they say, "Oh, well, he sounds good," and because in actuality, you know, I don't know why, but that's just the human brain. We like how people sound. You know, we like voices. We instead of actually listening to the evidence of something, a lot of us are mostly taken away with the character of a voice or how good the argument was, instead of actually understanding that the argument is not evidence, or understanding how good a person sounded, or the words he used, or how eloquent he might have sounded, don't mean shit if he didn't actually bring evidence. And basically what I'm saying, the moral argument for the existence of God, and like I said, y'all need to go and check out these links, and I'm going to leave some links in the video. Like I said, the moral argument for God is basically a waste of time. It's redundant, it's useless, it's outdated, it's bullshit, and we shouldn't keep wasting our time in major debates, you know, actually debating Christian apologists on that, because it's just like weak. I mean, I wouldn't even have to, if I had to go debate a Christian apologist right now and they wanted to debate the moral argument for the existence of God, I wouldn't even have to put together, I wouldn't even have to study to do that, to debunk them. Because it's something that doesn't take a lot of research to actually debunk. It's garbage. You know what I mean? So basically, that's what I just wanted to make this video about. Once again, thanks to all my subscribers. Thanks for all your comments, your likes, crazy comments, whatever. You know, it's all good. I'm an atheist, man. You know, this shit bounce off me. It's okay. I'm more like a face-to-face type person anyway. You know what I mean? But like I said, man, y'all keep watching my videos. I'm going to keep them coming. And the book is on the way. I know I keep saying it, but it's coming. It's going to be a banger, too. Peace out, man. I'm Emperor Atheist. I can't even talk, man. Guess it's late at night. Too damn late. Peace out.